And just when I had lost hope, there, I could finally make the FSX Flight Simulator X get captured by some screen capture device. I was trying this for so long and I couldn't get to capture the actual flights in Flight Simulator X. It was originally created by Microsoft, and as you can see, it's kind of dated compared to what Microsoft has today. You can find this simulator at Steam, and as you could see, lights were off, so we're turning lights on, the strobes, the landing light, and now I think it's all. Yes, let there be light. And without further ado, let's get it flying. And here it is. Unlike X-Plane 11 that has only one helicopter, this one has, well, actually three, I guess. Three different helicopters. The Robinson being one of them. This one I'm flying now. I think it's the Robinson R22. They say there it's a beta version, but it flies awesome. Microsoft Flight Simulator, the whole franchise, has a reputation of not being too realistic, but it's really, really fun. And one thing is, either realistic or not, flying a helicopter is no easy task. It's pretty hard to land a helicopter. We're about to try to land. Hardly ever can I get aligned with the center line of the runway. I usually get totally off. Now the height is good, altitude is nice, but I'm soon going to mess it up. Why is that? Because in a helicopter, in order to lose speed, you have to bring the nose up. But when you do that, you start gaining altitude again. So you have to bring down the collective so that you lose altitude while you still have the nose up. And depending on how much speed you lose, helicopters can kind of go quote-unquote negative speed. You can fly backwards. But we're trying to land forward. I'm trying to land at this spot, not quite there, but this is where I managed to land. Ow. And this wasn't a very nice landing. You don't want to, bump on the runway like that. But still, we're here. Depending on how hard you crash, it says you crashed and you have to restart the flight. But we didn't crash, so we're going to resume flight. We're going to fly around, see what we can do, what we can see. This one is just a celebration flight. I think I mentioned before, this one was made in 2006. So it's a pretty dated, especially the map. It's overly simple. But imagine back then, this was the ultimate realism in computer graphics. If you wanted anything more realistic than that, you should work for some weather forecast company to get your hands in those supercomputers rendering the entire global weather in real time. Today we have those powerful machines at home pretty much. But I have a pretty old computer also. And as you can see, I just turned around. I said landing a helicopter is no easy task. You have to slow down, but slowing down causes you to gain some lift, and you have to counteract that lift with bringing down the collective. But depending on how hard you bring down the collective, you just sink onto the ground. So you have to control. Helicopters are all about a trade-off when it comes to controls and inputs. You have to counteract one input with another input. And even though it's hard to land a helicopter, I think you see what I'm up to here, right? Whenever I see a building with a flat ceiling, a flat roof, what I do is I try to land on this. And sometimes it is considered a crash, but as you can see, this one was nice and able to be a landing pad. So I think we landed about the middle. Yeah, we landed in the middle of it. And as you can see, our skids are hidden inside the building. So that was technically a crash, but it was not. It looks like we're in the air. We landed on the collider of the building because if you crash on the building, the simulator stops. Let's get out of here and land on an actual helipoint. There is not quite a helipad, but it's a helipoint. It's a place for actual helicopter landing. It's funny that as we come closer to the letter H for helicopter, it starts to show how big it is compared to the actual helicopter. In real life, usually the letter H is about the same size as the helicopter. And now let's get flying again, except I don't usually fly like this. I'm experimenting now with the cameras. I don't like that camera particularly. I see a lot of people flying with this external view of the aircraft. I do not like that. And it's very hard to control, so we're trying to avoid those buildings. Let's fly the other way around. Try to fly off in the distance. Try to get some altitude. I could have shown the altitude levels there. I could show the control panels, but I'm not doing that. I want to see the whole scenery around the helicopter. So for this purpose, flying like this is a very good thing. You can see a lot around the helicopter. You see more of the map. Even though it's very simple, flying for the landscape, flying for the view is always a nice thing. At least to me. This is very particular of me. Flying simulators is to me all about enjoying the view more than anything. Let's experiment with some camera shots. And obviously, I am actually controlling the helicopter as the camera changes. So, knowing exactly what I'm doing, since I'm not seeing the controls or seeing exactly where I'm going towards, I have to kind of guess what I'm doing. But I know I'm not gonna crash. Don't worry. Or bummer if you expected me to crash. I'm not doing that. Despite being an old simulator, old graphics, I still like this a lot. Overall, and the clouds look old-fashioned and outdated, but if you fly into the clouds, they are impressively more accurate than they look from afar. But I'm not flying that high because it takes a lot of time for a helicopter to get that high. And we're back into the cockpit. This is much better to fly, and obviously if you want some little bit of realism, flying inside the cockpit is the absolute best option. Enjoying the view would be much better with some VR equipment. I'm not sure whether Flight Simulator X allows for VR. I don't recall if it even has this feature. I mean, 2006, right? I know VR is not actually a new technology, but even now, VR is a little bit of a challenge for developers, and it's still not broadly affordable for so many people. Again, as I said, I have the FSX. First, I like it a lot. Secondly, I don't have the powerful machine to upgrade it to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I can barely fly my X-Plane 11, the one I make more videos about. But I like this one because the helicopters. Helicopters are particularly more fun to fly because you can absolutely change the speed mid-air. You can see a lot more of the outside, so you can enjoy the scenery much more. And you can land virtually anywhere. And even if Microsoft Flight Simulator versions are not considered the most realistic simulators, they say it's very unrealistic, it's still very fun to fly. Controls feel real smooth, especially here in the FSX. X-Plane has a lot of realism. If you watch videos about how X-Plane was developed, it relies a lot on actual physics. I'm not quite sure how it works in the FSX engine, but or even the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 engine. They say didn't change much as far as realism is concerned. Oh look, see, I have this simulator is very old, but my machine struggles to render the beauty sometimes. The simulator has full graphics all the way up. As you can see, the glass reflections are very convincing, honestly. Especially for an outdated simulator like this. I keep saying this is outdated because it's impressive how old it gets, but I think it aged pretty well, honestly. Let's dive a little bit. Whoop. After a really aggressive turn, some aggressive dive. I'm trying not to evoke the overspeed warning there. We're just not too fast, actually. Looks fast, but it's not that fast. And we're about to land. It's not gonna be a beautiful landing. I just want to put this bird on the ground and call it a day. I'm pretty happy that I could finally capture the flight in FSX. I was never succeeding at that, and I read a lot about it, and nobody, or at least a lot of people, couldn't have any screen capture to successfully do that, but I did. And we're landing. It's not gonna be a perfect landing, and I'm gonna land by the threshold here. It's going to be a very shabby landing, for what I can tell. Yeah, kind of. It always kind of bumps, and with that being said, I hope you enjoy the flight and see you next time.